The horse is dead. The horse is dead, everyone. Also, hi. We're streaming. What's up?
Hi.
The time has come for the next session of Tales from the Greenwich Colonies. As always, Josh, Ross, Jason, Tiki's not here. Thank you guys for your support on Patreon. Levi's not here. Levi has disappeared. He hasn't disappeared. I'm assuming he'll be back in a couple of sessions. He's probably sick or something. And anywho, this is not a game I GM. This is a game Ross GMs. We've just hit level 2. We're going to town. It's going to be great. And I've rambled enough. Ross, take this out of my hands.
Well, welcome everybody back to another adventure here in the Isle of Greenwich, where we're going to start throwing some dice. The only problem is I have a bad feeling if I throw these dice at my computer screen, it will break. So we will preserve the dice throwing for later. But where we last left off, you all did manage to successfully throw some spells, some blades, some magic, some weird goblin noises at a group of elementals, and managed to survive an assault. From what you all have gathered is some very powerful ancient elemental thing that has come from the crown of the world southward into the waters that are between Arcadia and the Greenwich Isle. That being said, you all did make it. You saw it. It tried to give you guys a little bit of a rocky start, or a rough start, but after getting through it and surviving some air elementals, some water elementals that literally had a challenge rating above the table in all of the official stuff, I was quite proud of that, actually. They did manage to make it through the fight. I did consider it counting as defeating the elementals, because I had arbitrary sort of like, this is only going to last X amount of rounds. It lasted X amount of rounds. Everyone was alive. They defeated it according to my logic. But yeah. So where we last left off, everyone on deck was kind of just, I imagine there's a few of them that are just like falling onto the back, kind of like snowflake style in the sand, or just on the deck, breathing heavy after dealing with that fight. People had been thrown off the ships, attacked by giant waves, and been pushed around by big old gusts of wind. And
Myrddin is spending a lot of time getting the vomit out of his beard, because that was very, very, very life-threatening and spooky and scary. Out of resources. Well, not out of resources. Spell points exist. I have more of them now than I thought I did, because we've leveled to second. Out of resources, out of everything, just exhausted.
Well, the biggest thing I'm doing is not dying at the moment.
Accurate.
Not that I didn't try hard last session.
not that you didn't try hard last session, it's just unfortunately you drew their attention a bit too early. And they were all like, oh, what's this? Splat. So at this point, you all are just finally starting to get your wounds and everything recovered as the captain comes down off from the top of the railing of the ship and kind of addresses you five as the rest of the ship hands run around quickly, gathering bits and pieces of the ship that have kind of flown about, grabbing the winds and the sails and the reins and making sure everything is nice and clear. And he kind of looks to you all and says, well, that was mighty fine work.
Aye, it was. Do you always have this many problems with elementals?
Not gonna lie, it's been getting worse lately. Something's gonna have to be done about it, but that's gonna be up to the Navy, not me.
Myrddin will nod. Looking down at Myrddin's sad shield. Well, yeah, no, I'll go ahead and look up at the captain, my shield sad and dented. Just, do you think you might have anyone below deck who could fix this? Seems to have taken as much of a beating as we have.
He walks over to your shield, kind of picks it up, looks it over. Oh yeah, oi, Larry, he kind of says to a sort of bulgy looking half-orc dude. Yeah, he says, turn around. You mind giving this one a proper fix-up? Oh yeah, sure, he says, kind of walking over, grabbing the shield and taking it. Cam looks to you. It won't be the prettiest, but at the very least, it will be fixed, and, well, I think that's the least we can do for you using it to protect our asses.
I appreciate it. It's mostly an old family heirloom.
Well, for a family heirloom, it works like a charm.
Myrddin will nod.
At this, he kind of glances over to PK and Bowser as they're kind of just enjoying the beer and just kind of whistles. Well, Now the question is the ape man or the dwarf going to fall down first?
Well, you know, they don't know how to farm a proper shield wall, I imagine. The lot of them, whatever they happen to be, looking out over the four of them. But they're good fighting men. You got lucky, Captain.
Indeed. Indeed. About Buff, I believe you were going to say something, Bren?
Bren.
Whenever I have something to say once the captain is finished.
I mean, at this point, he kind of just pauses, just kind of surveying the ship. Like, he's not saying anything actively at the moment. He's just kind of like got his hands in his pockets, just kind of like, okay, need to do that, need to do that.
Druid.
Aye.
A word?
Myrddin will turn and face Bren. Nod once.
I have a reason to hate your people.
So I understand.
But you saved my life, so I owe you a debt. Can you tell me what you were doing out in the middle of the ocean?
I'd like to know that too, to be honest. I mean, you've earned your fare, but at the very least, what in the gods' names were you doing out there?
Suppose I haven't been entirely honest. My name is Myrddin O'Bren. Counsel to High King Doncat Priamer the 12th. Counsel to High King to be High King Doncat Priamer the 13th of the Isle of Briatane. Or so it would have been if the island hadn't fallen to darkness, and unfortunately I have been cast away by powerful magic. I find myself here, and frankly, I owe all of you my life.
Would you roll me a diplomacy check?
Here we go. I'm in trouble now. This has a 5 on it. Boom. Oh, good. A total of 7. Here we go.
The captain kind of looks at you with a look of he doesn't fully believe you, but it's like this doesn't sound right because he's never heard of the island or the people you're talking about, but the honesty at which you just convey it with your voice and just like the sheer sort of like hopeless like so kind of just makes him raise an eyebrow. It's not like he fully believes you, but he's definitely not like unsympathetic. Make of it what you will, Bren.
To further my point, Myrddin will remove his robes. I know, creepy, but beneath his robes there, and I was gonna wait till I took like slashing damage or something to make this visible, but Myrddin has scale mail on, and the scales of the scale mail are very bright cerulean because they are in fact the scales of a blue dragon. It's not necessarily a badge of office, but this comes from the Isle. It comes from the great dragon that gave us the bloodline that allowed us to conquer the island, allowed us to rule, allowed the Priamer line to rule as the rightful High Kings. I don't have any other proof, and I fear now if I were to return to the island, it would mean only my death. Nevertheless.
Upon seeing the scale mail, the captain gives a low whistle, leans forward, kind of like rubbing his chin a bit. Aye, you're right. It may not be exactly a badge, but yeah, that looks like real dragon scales. Well, that does mean at the very least you are from somewhere with some influence. If you're able to get your hands on something like that. That's kind of just like taking a step back. Last time I seen those scales was on a dragon themselves. That was the story for another day, though. The captain says, kind of just looking away.
I understand. In any case, I believe the young lad can mostly handle himself, him and his missus. Where are we? To be honest, I don't think I ever was really introduced to anyone. I'm grateful you picked me up, but I'm not quite sure where in the green we're going. I understand that one of my order has wronged you, Bren. It seems if this well and truly isn't the other world, and we haven't all died horribly, the fates have taken me to you. Where are we going? What are we doing?
Well, we're off to a place known as the Greenwich Isle, where, well, I'm going there for some trade and some light exploration. I don't know about the lot of you all. Your affair to get to the island was protecting the ship. Once you got there, that was kind of the rest of your lot's deal. At the very least, I'm staying in dock for a few weeks. He kind of looks over at the ship. She'll hold till we get to the bay, but I fear if we don't get the hull looked at, she might sink soon enough. Besides, I have more than enough resources at hand for me to just de-stress after dealing with that.
Aye.
Moderation, Captain. It's always a good idea, but I understand the sentiment.
Hell no, lad. I don't drink. I swore that off 3 years ago. That wasn't, once again, that involved that damn dragon I mentioned, which is a hell of a story, but he kind of like looks over at Bowser, who kind of is like, looks like he's on a 10th drink at this point, and he just raises his eyebrow. But I think that little one over there is more than enough reasoning as well to point out why I would have already outpaced him back in my heyday.
Turning it towards Bren, just... Well, lad, I suppose we're hunting a member of my order. I understand sometimes in the name of balance, some of us can get a little aggressive, but of course to do this corrects the scales the other direction, and we, as humanoids, whatever it is you are... I'm sorry, I've never seen someone so short. I've never seen over either someone so green.
I've never heard of a dwarf before.
What's a dwarf?
Yeah.
Well, see, Brittain has elves. The dirty knife he is. And Brittain has humans, and Brittain has those of us more or less blessed by the mighty dragon, and that's it. Never heard of anyone so green, or so short and bearded, or so short and not bearded, or so big and petrified. But in any case, if there's a renegade druid to hunt, there's a renegade druid to hunt, and my time as advisor to the High King, though we don't always talk about it, is colored by my service to the green, and I haven't shopped it out yet, but much like I did in Rise of the Rune Lords at IOPC with Nick Cross, being an Order of the Fang Druid and cutting out a fang shape from the green faith symbol, what I'm going to do is like take a lightning bolt out of the big leaf with the eyes, and just that being a symbol of the Order of the Storm. My service to nature means that all balances must be corrected. If I need to hunt one of my own, I need to hunt one of my own.
Oh, see. The captain kind of frowns his brow for a moment or two before turning over to look at him, before turning his look over at Bren. That druid fella, you said that, what they do?
He killed a newborn child. My niece.
The captain kind of just sighs a bit before looking back at you and says, I've heard of that lot. Thought they were just a thing of myth, but if they are here on the Greenwich Isle, that explains quite a bit. If what you say is true, I think unfortunately you met a member of the Bloodleaf Covenant. A group of druids further up north in Greenwich, well past civilization. I'm not certain where their base is. It's called, supposedly it's in a place where the trees, rather than have sap, have blood. And the leaves are crimson year-round. Nasty place, from what I understand. Filled with dark magic, and I don't understand how druids could come from there and still be druids. But I fear that they do some of the darker sides of nature's bidding. Perhaps focusing more on entropy rather than preservation. Did he say why he did it?
To drive my family from our land, saying we were too populous. My family had lived on that land for 12 generations. We tend the forest. Yes, we cut trees, but we plant to replace them.
Well, from what I understand, this Blood Oaks Covenant has been a beacon, if you will, for druids of that sort of mentality that believe the humanoid races should have their numbers significantly thinned. I'd be careful if I were you. You all could take on some elementals, yeah, but, well, let's just say most of their members can do more than just summon elementals.
I can imagine. Nature is indeed sometimes red in tooth and claw. I wouldn't go running in there headlong anyway.
Well, as these fellows love to point out, blood. Either way, I would advise you to be cautious dealing with that group. I'm not certain if if there's anyone I can directly talk to about it, but there are a few people in the island that'd be very interested in seeing these quite honestly terrorists disappear.
I can imagine they would. Is this island, is it particularly populous? Several big major cities, anything of that nature?
Three major cities. It's not a lot of people. Mostly some villages, few cities. There's some more nomad clans up to the north, and then to the very far north, there's this rather weird magical academy. The person that runs it, I believe it's named after him. He just kind of pauses for a moment, just kind of like tapping his chin a bit. It's called it's the academy something. Hey, Bozo, he says, kind of looking over to a half elf who's kind of just like, yeah, that one girl you shacked up with when we were in you know, where'd she say she was from? The Academy for the Advancement of the advancement of alchemical studies. The captain says, the Academy for the Advancement of Alchemical Studies. It's a pompous mage college up to the very far north, devoted to studying the crown of the world. Ran by a very erratic fellow. I had the pleasure of meeting him, but from what I heard, he might have traveled around enough to maybe have an inkling of where these blood oak sort of fellows might be. Maybe, possibly.
Seems like a fair start. Well, I imagine we just, like you say, we go where the trees are red, we'll find them. They don't seem to be hiding.
That's the problem. If your friend over there was thinking of what I'm thinking he was talking of, then, and if you all are going after the Blood Oaks, then most likely you'll be heading to the northwestern part of the island, which is where, well, I would advise you to stay as far away from. If you wanted what I would call the closest thing to the nine circles of hell here on the mortal plane, you'd go to the northwest of the Greenwich Isles, but even then, that ain't exactly the proper thing to call it. Strange things exist out there, and they certainly ain't of our world. But they ain't of the hells nor the heavens either. Last I heard, they were of the space in between the stars. I mean, I've been around for years. I've been sailing the seas, doing my deed for over 20 years now. I have quite a few adventures underneath my boot, and let me tell you, whenever, gods, what is it? I don't even know what they call it. Just the black spot between the stars. Whenever something from there comes here, it ain't good.
Aye.
It ain't good for anyone.
Things on the outside belong on the outside. They don't belong here. Myrddin probably like clenches the rail pretty like white knuckle hard at the mention of aberrations and bad things.
Oh yeah, very clearly aberrations. You little fellow, I have some sympathy though for your cause. I'll see what I can dig up before I head out to head on to the Dragon Empires. If I don't find you, I'll send somebody out to find you with what information I can dig up.
My thanks, Captain.
Hey, no problem. Going after a baby killer. The very least I can do is help you get some information.
Thank you.
Aye, there's a line. Killing people because people are encroaching on nature is one thing. It doesn't sound like, unless you're just going through the forest killing every deer and bear you can find and just depopulating the whole place, sounds like you weren't doing anything wrong, and killing the little one, it's just not right.
Well, and I hate to be a hard ass here, but why the little one? Why just the little one? If he was concerned with the population number, why didn't he go after the mother? Kill her off. She was of mating age. She could have had more kids.
Aye. Seems as if you're cutting the river off a little too far away from the source, if you ask me.
Funny you should word it that way. He also blocked the stream, the source at the spring, using my brother-in-law's cattle.
Well, you see, that's a contradiction right there. That makes no sense to me, because you block the stream, you kill the fish, you kill the things that depend on the stream to live, not just dwarfs, you say? Dwarves?
Yeah,
Looking at
yeah,
Captain. Dwarves. Not just the little ones. You kill everything. And in trying to balance nature, you tip it farther away from the balance. I don't understand.
I'll be careful. Like I said, they're druids. They have undoubtedly control over nature and natural magic, but they have some teaching, some dogma, some sort of, I hate to say it, but teachings that ain't very druid-like from the druids I met.
I can imagine.
Like, he kind of points to you, Myrddin. This is more, Myrddin here is more what I think of when I hear a regular sort of druid. These folks are more like cultists of some sort, which only further concerns me of the nature of magical prowess, because, well, few things are scarier than an angry druid.
It sounds to me like they might not even be druids. Magic comes from many sources. I myself, by nature of my family, by nature of the Bren bloodline, I have the ability to reach into myself. In addition to my studies, I always have to cast magic. But of course, looking back at Elu, this is what did you call this one? The green boy, goblin over here.
Goblin.
Seems to cast from his magical, funny instrument type thing. You see, some cast from their faith, some cast again from things that belong outside. I believe there's more here than what we're seeing.
I would agree.
Either way, even if they aren't full-blooded druids, Mr. Myrddin, they can use nature magic enough to the point of which they've scared the common folk into thinking they are. And that's kind of the title they got at this point.
A fair assessment. That's the thing about the common folk, isn't it? They rely on superstition. The word starts, the word spreads, the word passes over the people, and it's like a plague.
But either way, Myrddin,
Aye?
reach my hand out. If I may be of service to you, let me know.
Aye. Myrddin will, take the hand at the wrist, probably, and just, firm grasp, big shake. Aye? Balance will be had. Balance will be had. And you too, back there. Big, drunk man that moves over to PK and awkwardly. I imagine PK would probably, if I know Josh half as well as I know Josh, but the handshake turns into a gigantic full bore, just bear hug. And you poke at Bowser's drunken corpse. Not corpse. His pseudo-corpse. And you, little green one. Well, Captain, how long before we reach the island?
At this point, he kind of looks around a bit, licks a finger, sticks it up in the air for a few seconds before saying, probably be up about sunrise tomorrow. You all go take some rest. You deserve it. As he kind of just looks past you guys once again to Bowser, and I imagine PK still drinking, and says, they'll especially need it.
Thank you, Captain. And I'll wander downstairs, doctor my wounds up a little better, and get some rest.
Yeah, Myrddin will head down to his bed and pray to the green, pray to the forces that be, and thank them for his gifts and his ability to use those gifts to save lives, and probably just pass out real hard immediately after.
Can I roll a medicine for myself, see if I can speed my back up?
Yeah, you can.
Well, actually, I have, I forget which one. Did I take battle medic? I took natural medicine. So I can, if Bren is very obviously super hurt, I'm going to throw a nature check at the board. It's DC 20. So +5 to that. So I just barely don't make it. Okay. Afraid I can't help you, lad. These are beyond my skill to heal.
Okay, mine was a natural 16. Let me look at the sheet. +3 So, yeah, I clear a 20. It would be 21.
He's just expecting to be able to speed up your natural recovery a bit.
Yeah. I'm doing what I can to...
Count your level as 1 higher for the amount of HP you regain tonight.
Okay.
And normally it's just like your level times your con modifier for how much HP you recover in one night.
Okay.
You know, standard, fair, sort of simple rules there.
Right. So... Once again, in public, math is hard.
Math is hard, yeah, it is. Even in this much simpler system than the system I'm used to.
Yeah. So, con mod is +1, level is 2.
Also, untrained is no longer influenced by level, right? It's just a flat d20 -4.
No, it's still influenced by level.
Oh, okay, fair. So minus some real bad.
Now it's -3.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I am trained in medicine. So that helps me. But okay, so 3. We'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to work it out how many points I get back, and it's not flowing. So, oh well.
Yeah, it is what it is. Worst case scenario, like, I mean, I'll have my heals back in 8 hours.
Yeah.
With one more on top of it.
Yep. Okay. Well, sounds like it's about time to hit the town.
Yeah.
I will be sure not to move silently in the morning, especially near the drunkards who deserve to have the best hangover experience I can give them. Hey, if I had to give up drink, they can. Well, maybe not give it up completely, but
At least enjoy everything it has to offer.
Excess consumption is something that has to wait until after now more than one evil druid thingy dies.
Yeah. The next morning, as you all are waking up, you do begin to see the city of Noctine in the distance. It is a fairly good-sized city. Pretty large, pretty sizable. And as you guys do see, you do actually see, like, towards the shoreline, you see kind of shabbier, smaller buildings, probably the first ones that appeared on the island. Sort of like the first ones built for the colony, but further back you do see more proper houses and buildings in the back, and you think you even see what is the beginnings of maybe some sort of keep in the center of town. Perhaps there's like an actual form of like a militia or something that defends these cities. It does seem as though everything's still being built, though, as you do look over and notice the fact that those that line the city seem to be mostly wooden, with a few watchtowers just sporadically placed apart. As you all come into dock, you do find you're not the only large ship there, but you are one of the larger ships.
Well, we could go to the keep. We could talk to the powers that be. It's not the worst idea in the world to ask the powers that be in this island for help. Get an organized force, go in like that. Or we could perhaps move around and see what the common folk are thinking. What do you think, Bren?
Well, I like you, Druid. So let's make a pact, shall we?
Right?
We both agree that these things, whatever they are, cannot exist, not in a good world.
Aye.
So the more I learn about them, the more I know that right now I don't believe I would do more than waste my life against them.
Seems to be accurate.
So let's find out what we can. Gain allies, gain experience. I'm still young. This is a long hunt for me. If it takes until I'm a graybeard like you, I will.
Just a bit of warning, the captain says, kind of just walking up behind the two of you. Dwarves live longer than humans. He says kind of with a grin to the two of you as he walks up kind of behind you.
Well, here's hoping he goes to Grey a little faster than I did. But I agree, we need friends, we need allies. So Myrddin will, as I disembark the ship, Myrddin will hold up his right arm. And I'm not going to try to do the whistle because I'm not as powerful as Gandalf the White, but that's the idea. Myrddin is going to just like sustain a note and warble it because we are level 2 and the class feat I took for my sorcerer side of the Gestalt was my familiar. I would like to call, again, like, whatever non-nocturnal birds of prey exist in this part of the world.
Like I said before, one is the Blood Raven. It's like an offshoot of the natural raven that is commonly seen in like Arcadia. That has become more predatory in time, most likely due to the more hostile nature of Greenwich.
Okay. I will... Myrddin's probably pretty surprised. Is it like bigger than the average raven?
Yes. It is a bit bigger.
Okay, so there's
and its talons are noticeably, like, it's a bit bigger in bulk, but its talons are the part that are significantly larger.
Okay. There's probably a little bit of wide-eyed. Oh, hello there, little one. And I'll bring it down, and I don't know how long the ritual takes, like rules is written in the playtest, but I'm just gonna, like, whisper in its, where it hears in Druidic, just, I need your help, little one. In the name of the green, in the name of the storm, and the skies and the rain, I call you into service. And however long that takes to solidify my familiar...
After a few moments, it kind of just blinks, and then slowly looks at you with a bit higher, like, with a spark behind it that's kind of giving you the impression that it works, and there's just kind of a feeling of, like, understanding in your mind as you're kind of focusing on it. As it just kind of like stares at you a bit before moving onto like your shoulders so as to make it like you don't have to hold your arm up to keep it on you.
Okay. I think for my first trick, what I want to do, because I've played things with familiars before, but I've never played things with familiars that are native to a place that I'm not. So it has a fly speed. I have to spend one of my 2 familiar abilities for it to keep that. For the second one, I would like it to be able to speak common and just, little one, what lives on the island? What can you tell me about this place? What are visitors here?
I noticed you came on the wood. You came on the wood to the people place.
Aye, that's
Is that
called
just
a
gonna
boat. Yes, and just boat, pointing at the ship.
I can say the word. I just think calling it a wood thing is more fun. I wanted to see how far I went.
He says, just kind of like looking you up and down.
Not very far.
You ain't
little one.
exactly the smartest one in the woods, are you?
I do what I can.
mess with-
Hey now, little one, You.
This is why people never give control of their familiars to me, because I love making funny familiars.
I think that's more fun than just having like a resource that I use.
Yeah.
Well, you ain't exactly from around these parts, it does seem, but I do recognize a kindred spirit. I ain't been able to talk to people much before, so this is new. Can they understand me?
He says, just kind of like turning around to the captain and Bren and PK. And you all can understand it. And the
Lad,
captain's
you
just
are
like,
in fact speaking in people right now, lad. It turns out.
that's,
That is a bit of a new one to me. I've known it possible, but
Druids, man. Druids, I tell you. The captain just says, shaking his head.
What? I seem alright.
The girl just kind of says,
Aye, they do what they can. They're unorthodox, but they get the job done. Now, what lives on the island, little one? What can we expect to see? What do you eat? What eats you?
well, I
Well,
will.
nothing ate me yet since I'm still here on your shoulder.
You mean you know what I mean? What eats other gigantic ravens? Are there big scary monsters? Is there perhaps a dragon that rules over all of these people that we don't know about? What have you seen?
What's a dragon?
Okay, we can rule out no dragons. That's a good start, a fine start.
There's a big lizard flying thing. I think your kind calls it a wyvern?
That's a baby
Like I've
dragon.
seen
Okay, it's not a true dragon. Less scary.
Oh.
More poisonous, less scary.
Oh. Well, there's a couple of them around. They don't mess around with this area much, though. There's some people with powers similar to yours in a nearby area that seems to kind of keep them from burning everything to the ground. And, wolves, small rabbits, people, fish. Really, the big lizard snake things are the only thing that are kind of concerning for me. There are other birds. I get into fight with other birds. But in terms of big, scary, oh god, no, please, why, sort of things, really only the big flying lizards stick out.
Aye, that's fair. That's quite fair. Okay. If you wouldn't mind, I have a favor, little one. I'd like you to, if you would, go flying around where the people live, and if you hear any words about evil druids or things that are unnatural, just remember them, and tomorrow come back and find me. Tell me what you've heard, and if anything would eat you or cause you harm, find us. You'll find you can feel me in your brain now, as I can feel you. You should be able to basically work out where
Are you as disappointed in it as I am?
I had thought perhaps something like an eagle, a large hawk, baby rock.
What's a hawk?
No hawks on this island. Fair enough.
What's a rock? Are the rocks the rocks are tiny things that lay on the ground that you use to smash open shellfish?
And sometimes they're much bigger, and they like to pick up elephants and drop them on the ground. But I don't know anything about that. I'm from Britain, not Syrian.
Getting too meta.
Too meta. We're metagaming. Go forth, Bert. And just send him off on his way.
You just throw him up, and he's like, ah, and just falls onto the planks. Become a familiar, they said. It will be fine, they said. It will go well for you, it said. And he just flies off.
It will be fine. Well,
Interesting canary you bought. And I'll walk off the ship.
I will follow along.
The other members of the party will join as we can or cannot confirm their obituary dates, but as the both of you kind of just step off and begin to walk forward, halfling approaches you. Young male halfling kind of just walking beside an older one, just kind of comes up, looks up to you two. Hi, hold up.
Can I
You two
cast
part of
message?
the crew for this ship?
Can I cast message? I need to know if I can cast message. Is that a spell that I have? No, it's not.
I don't.
It's not. Okay, so
Why do you not have message?
I don't know why I don't have message, because I wanted guidance more, not knowing that you can be bolstered against it. But
Well,
I guess
at least this
in
isn't
lieu of that, I'm gonna lean over to Bren and just why isn't this goblin green? And what's wrong with his ears and his feet? I don't understand.
Is your friend here daft? The halfling said, just kind of looking over to you, Bren.
The deception's a 24.
Deception's a 24.
To try to say that without the halfling noticing. Or at least without the halfling noticing that I'm saying terrible things, not understanding what a halfling is.
No, he doesn't hear it.
Oh, good. So,
He's an NPC, but he has a really good perception roll.
yes, he does.
He just kind of walks up to you two. Yoy, you two with the ship.
Aye. We came in on the ship, yes. I wouldn't necessarily call us with it.
Are
But
the crew, or are you here for yourselves?
We are looking for work.
aye.
Or at least I am for the moment.
He says, just kind of flipping up the form, kind of snaps to the boy behind him, who brings him a quill and some ink. He kind of dips it in a vial. You, big one. Name?
Well, if you're referring to me, you can call me O'Brien.
First, last name?
First name, O'Brien.
Last name?
Last name, don't have one. Where I come
Yep.
from, there's no family name. I simply am O'Brien.
Alright, got another funny farm one. He just kind of mutters to himself, and just writes that down. Purpose? Work?
Call it sightseeing, if you will. I'll pull out my holy symbol and let it hang a little low.
He just looks up slowly, just sees the holy symbol, just looks back to the boy, and the boy just shakes his head. And they just kind of exchange a look, and he says, all right. He just kind of marks some things down on paper before turning over to you, Bren. And you, What's your name?
Bren Tree Cutter.
Bren, eh? All right. And what's the purpose of your visit here, Mr. Tree Cutter?
Bit of work.
Alright.
I've heard y'all have plenty of open spaces, and I'm fond of such things.
Well, it depends on what space you can fill. What sort of work are you looking for? Farming? I don't know, wood cutting? You dwarves tend to take practical names. Right, proper thing.
It does help cut down on confusion, though. I often am a guide and a hunter in the woods.
Mercenary. He's just kind of pointing at you with like almost as if like a less of a statement and more of a question.
I did work with my local militia back in
Mercenary, he says before letting you finish and just like scribbling down on the paper some.
Are you with the local lord?
It ain't really a lord, buddy, but I am with the government around here. Keeping records of who's coming in and out of the city.
I understand. Where I grew up, it was the clan and the chieftains. So different places, different ways.
Well, you'll be happy to know there ain't really any lords or clans out this way. Got a few other sets of governments, but in terms of that sort of style government, he's just kind of just pointing his the pen away in the inkwell that the boy has and just kind of like looking through the paper again to make sure it's all set. In terms of that sort of matter, we don't really have, I guess you call them hereditary leaders?
I passes from parent to child.
Yeah. No, we ain't got none of that. Most of our people around here are chosen by election. Or at least we're allowed to choose people with election, and then the people that are in charge in terms of the money and the military don't fight us on it. Unless we get in their way.
Isn't that always the way for us? With a smile.
Well, to be fair, the merchants don't want to run a country. They just want to run a trading post. So take what advantages you can get. As long as the docks run, they get their money and they aren't getting some sort of fees or something. For the most part, the colonies out here are run by the colonies.
I
mean, they pay enough to keep a good navy around and a good militia forces around, so, hey,
This is my first visit to the Isle. Any place you would suggest might be a good place to learn a bit more about here? Well, I could wander out the front gate into the woods fairly confident.
Well,
walking blind is not my favorite thing to do.
I hear. He kind of looks up to the sun, kind of just like covers his eyes and says, it's a bit early, but today is one of the, today is a special day in market day. Today's a fish day. This is the day when most of the fishing vessels around town tend to have their best and most fresh cuts. And so while the center of town tends to smell like, well, warm fish, you get the best seafood about this time of day. So, and some of the local delicacies start to pop up. So y'all did choose a good day to arrive on, if you can get over the smell.
I've smelled worse.
Well, that's the case, he says, kind of just like finishing up your paperwork. Well, then you'll just need to head on into the heart of town. The market is very clearly in the center of town. You'll just listen for the sounds of people and noise and go where it's the loudest.
I feared that would be the case.
You ain't one for loudness, are you?
I prefer the woods.
Well, there is another place in town that you could go to get some information that'd be quieter. But you have to deal with a few people of the cloth.
What type of cloth?
Well, I ain't got no problems with him. The merchants personally, the ones that founded this city, their main deity they pray to is Abadar. He's got a
Yes.
strong foothold in this city, and well, he's the only one that's got a proper temple built. The other gods got their places. Hell, he kind of points to you, Bren. This place is actually one of those sort of breeding grounds for those that follow your green faith.
Does this guy look intelligent enough to comprehend what I'm about to say to him?
Oh, he looks like he's taking the piss with you. He looks like he is absolutely taking the piss.
Okay, in that case. Well, lad, sometimes we're known to worship the plants, sometimes we're known to talk to the trees, sometimes when the fish come from the sea, they're actually, little tiny druids who've decided that to keep the people alive, they'll give up their body and soul just for you, little funny man.
The younger boy behind him kind of goes, kind of like, oh my god, this is amazing. And the man just kind of like, fair enough. But yeah, if you can, I don't think you two quite take much kindly to Abadar's teachings, but the priestess that runs the place is a very kind woman, and there are a few other people around there that would be willing to help you out. Hell, that's probably most likely where you're likely to find the town hero, is what I have to call him. Most likely. Tends to spend most of his time out there when he's not in his brewery.
I'll just look up to... Well, I know where we'll find the others here soon.
Aye. So what does he do when he's not in his brewery?
Well, he tends to work the grounds of the Church of Abadar. One of the things they have is a sort of community vegetable garden that he grows crops and other things in, so that way if people are hungry, they can come and get themselves some fresh veggies, and set some green locations up for the winter and cold months. Good fella. From what I understand, he's well respected. Most people in the city like him. But that tends to be the way of those that follow Caden. And, the only person I can think of that really has troubles with him is the Overseer. But, the Overseer is a funny fellow.
Is that what you call the man who lives in the keep?
No, he don't live in the keep. He lives in his own house on the Isle. He's the, fellow employed by the merchants to, keep an eye on the place.
I see. But who lives in the keep, then?
No one at the moment.
It's just completely unoccupied. Giant building, middle of town.
No, it's full of militia supplies, like cannons and shit. They're building the proper wall, and then they're going to put all the stuff that they've stored inside the keep out on the walls. And then they'll start moving all the government buildings in there.
Excuse me, did you just say cannon? What's a cannon?
He kind of points to a cannon that's on the side of the ship. That's on the side of a ship nearby. Like, it's like, Bren, you would recognize that. That seems to be like a Navy sort of like ship. A basic Navy ship.
I'll just gently pat Myrddin's leg and, kind of tap. Maybe we should go and see about the market and stop. Well, give the good halfling here a chance to work on any other newcomers to the Isle. Again, thank you for your time, sir.
Be careful which fish you eat. Remember, they might be a druid who's polymorph. But I am hungry. And turning in the direction of the market, that's probably not the worst place in the world to... And if you're watching on Twitch, remember, we're going for all 3 hours. Well, for until 9 o'clock, whatever that gets here. As far as YouTube is concerned, that'll be it for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. I apologize for Josh's internet snafus. We'll try to work on that. Well, if you're watching on Twitch, I'm going to try to see if we can get him reconnected and up and running and stuff. We'll be back next week for more. And thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Say bye, guys.
Later.
Bye.